Welcome back, everyone, to the Catching You podcast. I am Lacey Ham, your co-host, and today I have with me Sarah Bhatt. I used to play with Sarah, right? Which
I
team were
don't
we
know if
on?
we were ever on the same team, but we've
Were
definitely
we?
grew up playing together, playing against each other.
Were we
Oh,
never on the same team?
I don't know. Maybe an all-star team?
Were you? I don't know.
I feel like they all blend in
They
together.
do. They did. But yeah, I grew up playing against Sarah, and we grew up kind of in the same league, right? And then um, we went to neighboring high schools, so we played each other in high school and everything. So yeah, how are you, Sarah?
I am great. I actually just moved across the country to Georgia for my first job out of college, so it's been a
Awesome.
little stressful, but it's been so exciting.
That is really exciting, especially like straight out of college. You know,
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
insane.
it's been a hard transition between like leaving the softball chapter of my life behind and moving on, but
Yeah.
I still work in sports, so I feel like that's been really helpful to kind of like transition me into this
Yeah.
next journey.
Yeah, I mean, and softball will never leave you,
Yeah.
right? So that's awesome. Okay, so let's start with kind of like the start of your journey. So like maybe right when you got into softball, or like what made you get into softball at such a young age, if you did like t-ball or anything.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey for sure, and I started playing when I was 7. My parents kind of came to me and were like, "You need to do something, whether it's play an instrument or play a sport. We got to get you involved in something." So I grew up going to Lake Elsinore Storm games with my dad. That's the minor league team in our area, and so I kind of knew baseball, and I was like, "I'll play softball." And from there, it really kick-started. I fell in love with the game as I grew to know it. Specifically like the Sierra Romero era of softball, especially because she's a hometown kid. That's like what made me fall in love with the game. And from there it was rec ball, and then next thing you know, you're playing on all star teams and travel ball, and then next thing you know, you're recruited and you're out in college. So that's been the
Yeah.
journey for me.
Yeah, what I think were the Romeros in high school when we were maybe like middle school or elementary?
I think I was a little younger when Sierra
Yeah.
was like graduating from Vista and then going
Mm.
to Michigan, which my family is big Michigan fans. My grandfather was a professor at University of Michigan, so
Oh, nice.
when Sierra went to U of M, that was like awesome. That was the
Yeah.
coolest thing that could have ever happened. So that was another reason that I was just like catapulted into the softball world.
Yeah, I remember like always seeing them around, like, or I think I went to a few of the games too,
Oh
where
yeah.
like I think Sydney was still playing too.
Oh yeah, me
And
too.
yeah,
I remember the stands at Vista Marietta High School being packed to watch the.
always.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's awesome. And then I got to play with Sophia when she was at Vista too, so that was cool.
yeah,
And
that is.
now she's at Boise State, so I play
Uh-huh.
her all the time now, which is
Oh,
awesome.
that's right. That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So we can talk about like, did you play any other sports, or, like any other hobbies that you might have done?
I definitely did not play any other sports. I mean, once I started with softball, that was it for me. But looking back, I do wish I would have played other sports or at least like tried them. I know you played volleyball, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's another sport I think I would have loved. But other than that, I mean, softball really just became my world.
Yeah. I mean, I think volleyball was kind of just like a little fun activity, you know?
Yeah.
Like it was fun, like I made a lot of friends. But I mean, a lot of people like I mean, softball is your life, especially when you go into travel ball. Wait, so which travel ball teams did you play for?
I played for a few Firecrackers teams. I feel like there's so many nowadays that it's hard to even like describe. I mean,
Yeah.
my dad was the coach of one of them, and then it was Paul Perez. I was with him for a while. I don't know if you know the Perez family. They've got daughters playing college softball right now, but
Mm.
Paul Perez, he was a big influence in my travel ball world. And then I finished my travel career with Brian Gendro and SoCal Athletics.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, same with like the Bat Busters. Like I don't there's so many that I
There's
just
so many.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I get girls for lessons, like, oh, I'm on the bad bus, or something. I'm like, oh, which one? And they're like, it's just like, I don't know
I
which
just
one
show
that
up
is.
and play friendly on
No.
Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, like this, I'm doing this podcast with my dad, and we kind of did like started it to kind of reflect on like my softball journey and like how we've kind of grown together, basically. So I just want to talk about like what's your relationship with your dad? I know you're pretty close with your dad, so like how did he kind of impact like you and like your softball journey?
Oh yeah, I mean, he has been so influential in my softball career. I recently just made a Dear Softball video, kind of saying goodbye to softball at the end of my season. And in the video, I mentioned that I remember sitting down at the kitchen table with my dad at 7 years old, like a few weeks before my first season ever. And he drew out a softball field on a piece of paper, and
Mhm.
we just kind of went over the basics. I knew nothing. So, that is something that's like so vivid in my brain, and it's like the most fond memory, even though it was so long ago. And then, you know how it is catching you. Like, so many memories of my dad catching my bullpens and me hitting him in the shin with drop balls and, everything in between. But man, like, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been here. And I'm really lucky because both of my parents have always been the kind to be like, if you're not having fun, don't play. Don't miss the homecoming dance or the birthday party for softball. And I know that's not the case for a lot of players, but I'm really lucky that that was my experience, because if it wasn't, I don't know if I would have continued playing.
Yeah. I mean, cuz I mean, me and my dad, like especially when we were younger, I mean, we had like our quarrels, maybe. Is that how you say
Oh,
it?
yeah. That was
uh,
a thing for sure.
yeah, like why can't you just throw a strike?
Yeah.
I'm trying to throw a strike, but I mean, it's just not happening today.
Yeah.
So, I we talk about kind of the struggles with that. Like, did you guys have any struggles like when you were younger or growing up?
Oh, definitely. I mean, pitcher dads are a different breed. I
Yeah,
know you understand this.
yeah,
And it is like the funniest thing catching a glimpse of my dad in the stands during a game, because he is like so stressed out. Like, his heart
yeah,
rate is through the roof. And I'm like, for what? Like, I don't understand it. But oh, yeah, I mean, there's definitely been the fair share of fights. Like, regarding pitching,
yeah,
he is a student of the game, and he has been so obsessed with softball the same way that I have become. Always watching YouTube videos and trying to learn and watching college softball. And, we've paid for pitching lessons my whole life. So I'm like, I'm going to listen to my pitching coach. And my
so
dad thinks he is the pitching coach. So
yeah,
that was the main source of like our disagreements. And then he would always get on me to like, you should be doing spins, you should be doing this. And looking back, I wish I would have listened to him. I wish I would have done more. But, you can't change that now. And I think that that may have made like our relationship with softball that much better, because at the end of the day, it was fun. Like, we were always dad and daughter. We were never like coach and player.
yeah. I mean, he's always just like dads just want to have like they have the best interests for you. Like they
Yeah.
just want you to be successful and like have you like have the best intentions behind it.
Hmm.
How they go about it sometimes isn't the best.
Yeah.
But that's when we talk about it on here a lot, is like talking to like younger girls, like speak up for yourself basically.
Hmm.
And it's like if you don't agree with how like your parents are kind of engaging with you through like with the sport that you like just want to love so dearly and like you
Hmm.
practice so hard for, like you have to speak up even if you're like 10, 11, 12 years old, because I mean that's like the growing years of when you're getting into travel ball and like
Yeah.
depending on where you're at, like I mean were you like sending letters to colleges at that age?
Yeah, recruitment was really interesting because I was getting recruited, or I guess like the main recruitment for me was before they changed the rules. So I was a freshman in high school stressing out that I wasn't committed to a top-notch D1 because other girls in our area were. Like, I mean, you know how it is. Our city specifically just breeds amazing softball players, and
So
I
weird.
felt
It's so weird.
it's the weirdest thing, but it's also just so cool, and like I'm so proud to be from Marietta because I'm like, this is the coolest thing. Like, to this day I get to watch girls that went to my high school or whatever play on TV. I'm like, this is the best thing. Like, I'm so happy for all of them. But yeah, I fell victim to comparison. So it was brutal for a while, the recruiting process. Yeah. And it makes you like kind of think about burnout. Like we mentioned parents, and I think that a big reason why so many great athletes find themselves feeling burnt out before they even reach their college years is because they're playing for their parents, they're not playing for themselves. So, I mean, I'm so lucky that wasn't the case.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about comparison. I think that's like the world, like, especially girls, like the biggest
Yeah.
enemy. Um, I mean, I remember going on a visit to a school and be like so proud of it, and then like seeing one of my other teammates commit, and she was a pitcher. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my, I'm a freshman in high school. Like this is just like ridiculous."
Oh,
But
yeah.
like since the rule changed, I mean, I think recruiting's gotten a lot better, but
I
there's
think,
still issues I feel like with that. And I mean, when you mentioned comparison, that's I mean, a girl's worst nightmare,
yeah.
especially with social media, all of that, it can be a killer.
Hmm.
So, like probably I would say like what would be your biggest advice to like young players who are going through like recruiting right now?
Yeah. Man, there's so many things I wish I could have told myself during the recruiting process. And one of them, like we just mentioned, is don't compare yourself. Like, you are your own person, you're your own player. This is your journey and nobody else's, including your parents. Like, as much as they may think it's their journey, it's not, it's yours. And also, I mean, I'm a D2 girl. I played Division 2 softball, and for a really long time, I had the D1 or bust mentality. And if I could give any advice, it's to throw that mindset in the trash because there's a school for everyone. And there's a lot of money floating around D2, NAIA, if that's what your concern is or if that's what your drive is. And so many great programs. Like, I am so lucky to have played for the programs that I did. Division 2, man. I will fight for Division 2 softball
Yeah.
all day.
I mean all levels. Like it's
Yes.
I saw a lot of like D3, the D2 championships like for NCAA, and it's just insane. Like
Oh
those
yeah.
girls are insane. So,
And I feel like what people don't understand in the softball world all the time is that the talent is there through all levels. It's just a matter of, maybe you're not at the right place at the right time or you don't know the right people. Like, that's really all it comes down to. I mean, there's so many Division 2 softball players that I faced these last 4 years that I'm like, you belong in a Division 1 school. Like,
why
serious.
are you here?
Yeah, what are you doing? And it's like, well, they wanted to be close to home or be a nurse or whatever the case may be.
So, would you say that cuz a lot of girls I feel like with recruiting do particularly only look at the softball side
Hmm.
when you also need to be looking at the education side, area, I mean, living situation,
Oh,
there
yeah.
the people around, like who are you going to be teammates with type thing.
Hmm.
Like there's so many other aspects to recruiting that people just don't like realize.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could lead to transfers, which I mean, we're going to kind of pivot to you who did transfer. So kind of however you want to talk about it, just like go through how you kind of made that decision or like what you went through before and how transferring kind of impacted you afterwards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked earlier about falling victim to comparison, and that was a big reason why I committed when I did. I was going into my senior year, still uncommitted when basically everyone on my travel team was already committed to D1 schools. And I was scared that this just wasn't going to work out for me. It's been my dream to play college softball for my whole life. And here I am, like, is it going to work out? Like, I don't know. And so I was emailing every school under the sun. Like, I didn't care where it was. I just wanted to play college softball. And I had Coach Callan from University of Hawaii Hilo reach out to me. And, it's hard being in Hawaii to travel to these showcases and whatnot. So he asked me for a skills video, sent it to him, and we, scheduled a phone call, talked on the phone, really hit it off. Like, him and I, to this day, we still talk. He is so impactful in my life, softball wise and just personally. So we really hit it off, and he offered me right there on the phone call. He'd never seen me play. Just saw a skills video, which is the best of the best, right? Like, those are not realistic whatsoever.
You take
Offered me,
you take the pitches
oh
out of your
yeah,
bullpen.
yeah, like the top 10 pitches of a 80 pitch bullpen, right?
Well, and your senior year was COVID,
Yes. So
so
little did I
they
know that COVID was going to be happening like
yeah.
8 months later or whatever it was. Um, so he offered me, and then flew out to Hawaii with my parents because I knew that I wanted to visit the school before I committed. Had a few other offers on the table, really small D1s on the East Coast. But went to Hawaii, loved that it was, this like family atmosphere and aloha and all of the good things, and it's beautiful. How many people can say they lived in Hawaii? And they had a program that had really good potential, and I wanted to be the impact player that they needed. So I committed there on my visit, and it was great. I mean, my first year wasn't perfect, but it was okay. I really liked my coach. The girls maybe weren't the best, but that's okay. Like, it happens. Um, but then out of the blue, Coach Callan like wasn't going to be the coach anymore. So got a new coach, and the next year just wasn't the best experience in all walks. I mean, I met some really great people, got to explore and adventure a beautiful state. So I'm so lucky for that, but it just wasn't for me, and I knew I couldn't do another 2 years there. And plus, like, I was really missing home. I mean, island fever is real. Like, being apart from your family is so real, and I wanted to be closer to home. So it was a crazy turn of events. My parents flew out. I played my last game, put my name in the portal the next day, moved out of my dorm, got on a flight. It happened so quick for me. I was so set on it.
Like in a matter of like how many days?
Oh, like literally 4 days. Yeah.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And my parents and I were moving my dorm out of my room like in the middle of the night because we didn't want to ruffle any feathers or like, let anybody know if I was going to transfer or whatever. So it was just really really stressful.
Sounds
And on top of it, I was going to be going to Georgia for my internship like 2 weeks later, which
yeah.
is a whole nother story. But yeah, that happened. And then put my name in the portal. The first school to reach out was Cal State Dominguez Hills. And this time I was a lot more patient, like let the offers come in. I really made them wait, and ended up committing like a month and a half later at the very last second. And I'm so glad that that's where I ended up because it was my dream school. Like, I didn't even know it existed until that season, and it was perfect.
Yeah, like I kind of relate to you on like the recruiting aspect, like because I mean you were a senior when I was a junior,
Mm-hmm.
so and then junior year is the year you could talk to colleges.
Oh yeah,
So
that's the year.
that's September 1st hit. I was like, okay, let's
Boom.
go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then March hit, and I was still uncommitted, and then they can't fly out to see you. Like, I'm posting skills videos on my Twitter thinking like
Yeah.
that's gonna like do a bunch of things, but you know, it's weird that there's all these colleges out there that girls don't know exist. Like, I had no idea what San Jose State was. Like,
Yeah.
where's San Jose? I have no idea. I just know
Mm-hmm.
it was in the Bay Area, but like there's opportunities for everyone, right? And like
Oh yeah.
for for you to move out in a matter of like 4 days, like I couldn't even imagine the stress level you were under.
So stressful, but so worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what would you say to girls like say now going into college, or maybe even like going into another year and thinking like I don't know like how this is going to go. Like
Mm-hmm.
what would you say your biggest advice would be to people that like are probably not the happiest in like
Yeah.
where they're at?
I mean, I know right now in the softball world, it's a huge controversy, like the transfer portal, because people are feeling like everybody just hops in and the grass is greener on the other side. I'm sure that's not the case for everybody, but as somebody who transferred, I am a huge advocate for the transfer portal. I get where other people are coming from, but for me, it was the best decision. And so, with that being said, my best advice to anybody out there who might be on the fence about if they want to stay at their school or not, my advice is just to listen to your gut. You know, trust your gut. You know what's best for you. And at the end of the day, if you're having second thoughts, like this might not be the place for you, you know? And the grass is greener on the other side. Like you will find a program that checks all of your boxes and reignites this joy and love for the game that you deserve to have.
Yeah. And like with the love for the game, like and we talked about burnout too. It's like it's so hard like noticing when you're like dude, I don't love it as much as I used to.
Yeah.
And so that's probably like one of the worst feelings I've ever like been like people describe it to me, and like I like fall like my heart falls. Like I just like I couldn't imagine not loving softball, you
Oh
know?
yeah. I mean, I
So
definitely went through all of those feelings when I was really unhappy at Hilo. You know, I started to reconsider like, is it even worth it to play college softball? Like, should I just move home and save all this money and go to San Marcos? You know, like that was going through my brain. And I like I'm a religious person and I think that God just like laid this all out for me so perfectly because the last 2 years I played softball at Dominguez Hills was the most in love with the game I've ever been. You know, even when I was a little girl staying up to watch college softball highlights, like more so than then, which is such a big statement to make, but um it reignited my love for the game. Like I said, it brought me so much joy. Like that was something my team talked about a lot at Dominguez Hills was joy, find joy, you know, all of the good stuff. Like, man, I just can't put into words like the joy I felt playing softball again.
yeah. And like I mean I don't this was I can't really remember, but did you guys win the was it the conference?
We want so my second so my when I was still at Hilo, my second
Yeah.
year at Hilo, right before I entered the portal, Dominguez Hills actually went to the College World Series and went all the way. They played as many games possible as you could, and then they lost in the NCAA D2 championship. They were second in the nation. So that was a big, you know, thing for me. I was like, I want to go to a winning program. So
Yeah.
obviously they go, and I'm like, yeah, I got to go there. But then my junior year, which was my first year at Dominguez Hills, we won our conference tournament, which we hadn't done ever. And we got rings. So, like, that was such a cool
Yeah.
experience. And then this past year, we went all the way to Supers and we lost in a heartbreaking game 3 of Supers. We were so
Sure.
close to going to the World Series, but yeah, it was a great season nonetheless.
Yeah. I mean, that
So,
experience sounds awesome.
oh,
Like
yeah, a winning program for sure. Like,
yeah, that's awesome. So, what would you say would you say that's one of your favorite memories probably from like from Dominguez Hills is winning like that conference championship or even going to supers?
yeah, I mean, my senior year, so my junior year softball wise was a lot better than my senior year, but both were incredible. You know, I suffered an injury at the end of my junior year. I just like had so much wear and tear on my arm
Mm.
that my AC joint was like all jacked up. So that after that, like I will say I just didn't pitch the same. So senior year was a lot different for me, but man, there's so many good memories. Like playing softball, but one of the highs for me was I like thrived off of the chirping and the intensity and like the pressure. Like that was where I felt the most alive. And my junior year, we were playing at Cal State San Bernardino, and it was an intense game. Like my head coach at Dominguez Hills used to be the coach at San Bernardino, so there was like some feelings there. Some girls on my team had transferred from San Bern, so there were also like, that intensity. It was an intense game. I get thrown in after we intentionally walk a girl. So they're chirping so loud. I go in, I don't even remember what I did exactly, but I get out of the inning, right? And
Yeah.
I just went ballistic. Like I was screaming at my team, like, we need to win. Da, da, da. I hate them. I kept yelling. This is so funny. I just kept yelling, like, I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. Because I was like, I do. Like, don't come for my family like this.
Yeah.
And it turned our season around. Like, that was a moment my coach kept referring back to, like, this changed our season because it ignited something in us. And so when I think of like one of the highest moments, I just think of that, like the blood going through my body, like, oh, just all of these emotions, oh
Yeah.
man.
Oh my, chirping is
It's the
insane.
best. It's my
Like,
favorite part of the game, I'll say it.
yeah. I mean, the teams in the Mountain West, like, we just have so much blood and
Oh
like
yeah.
and like rivalries. Like, I think, well, I mean, our biggest rival's Fresno State for sure,
Uh-huh.
but like we don't chirp as much with them as we do like Nevada, Utah State. Like, oh
Okay.
my gosh, like I've had some experiences with other teams that like I probably should not say on here, but like
Yeah.
it's just insane. I'm not gonna say what I have said walking off that field when I
Oh
get out of an inning.
no, definitely,
You
I'm
guys,
right there with you. Yeah.
all right. So let's kind of go into after like post graduation. So what
Hmm.
did you get your major in?
I majored in journalism.
Journalism. Okay.
Hmm.
And so I know you had your internship with the Savannah Bananas.
Yes.
So let's go let's talk about how you kind of like transferred into that and like what made you want to, I mean, be an intern for them.
Yeah, well, it all started. I, my whole life, wanted to be a paleontologist and dig up dinosaur bones in the middle of nowhere. But my junior year, that kind of shifted, and I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. But I quickly learned that I'm a lot more comfortable behind the camera than I am in front of it. So that ended up changing to like social media, working for a sports team. And when I came into Hilo, I had asked, like, hey, does anybody run the softball account? Like, can I do it? And they're like, yeah, sure. So I took that over, and that's really what like started it. Is I started running our socials. I had no clue what I was doing. And one of my friends from home was like, hey, have you heard of the Savannah Bananas? And I was like, kind of, like, not really. And he's like, oh, like, you should check them out. They're fun. So, okay. So I go and look them up on TikTok, see that they're like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life, and also saw that they had internships coming up. So I applied for their internship on a whim. This is while I'm in Hawaii, too. I don't think I'm going to get it. I don't even tell my parents I applied. And then I made it to the second round, made it to the third.
Incoming call. Are you gonna call?
Oh, wait. I was getting a call. Sorry. I was like, dude, I don't know how to get out of that.
Okay, hopefully it's still recording. Yeah, it should say it.
Mine says recording.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
So I make it to the second, third, fourth round of interviews, still thinking, like, there's no way that I get this internship. I end up getting it. So I tell my parents, I'm like, so I applied for this thing. I actually ended up getting it, but here's the kicker, it's all the way in Georgia. And they're like, what the heck? Like, what even is this? And I ended up just telling them, like, it's a really great opportunity. Like, you have to let me go. And they're like, yeah, do it, go. And I'm so glad I did. I met the most amazing people, made really great professional connections, and went back to school, played softball my junior year. And at the end of my junior year, they were like, do you want to come back? Like, do you want to come back this summer and maybe be like part time? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I come back, and same thing. I end up going back to school, finish my senior year, and around December is when they called me and they're like, hey, we want to offer you full time for this upcoming year. Like, what are your thoughts? And I was in. Like I really love it out here. It's a lot different from what I'm used to, but the people here have made me really comfortable, and I've come to learn so much in the realm of like social media, marketing, this, that, and the third. So yeah, I'm so thankful for the opportunity that they've given me.
Yeah, I remember like because I mean we follow each other on like social media and stuff. So like I
Yeah.
remember seeing all of your like stories and all of that, and I was like, this is I would follow like the Savannah Bananas. I'm like, you know what? I think Sarah posted that for sure. Like,
You could probably tell it's like girly pop, like
yeah, like all the text on it and like
yeah.
but my favorite was the Taylor Swift thing when
Hmm.
you did like the album cover,
Oh my gosh, yes.
and it was
That was
awesome. Like
so fun.
I had to go on LinkedIn and like repost it. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
not. But yeah, so I cuz it just sounds like you like wanted to stay in the realm of sports, which is like kind of the same thing I want to do. So I'm looking to be like a mental performance coach, but I mean not just for softball, but for a lot
Yeah.
of other athletes as well cuz I'm really interested in like sports psychology. And I
Yeah.
mean but being a sports psychologist, you need to have like 8 years of doctorate school and like all that stuff. But would you say that staying in sports kind of like keeps that softball you like within you kind of thing?
Oh, 1000%. Like, I knew that I had to be in sports one way or another. I mean, this is my passion. Like, softball, baseball, football, whatever it may be. Like, the competitive drive of athletes is just something that resonates with me. And they say to do what you love. So I'm like, let me work in sports. Like, that, this is what I love.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I knew that I just wanted to be around sports some way, and it still keeps that like love for softball alive in me and competitive drive that I never want to lose, you know? Yeah, and it's fun like baseball specifically. All of these people around me like know the game and like to talk about baseball and softball, so I've really found my people here.
Yeah. I mean, that's the competitive drive that you talk about. It's like there's no getting rid of that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it sticks with you for the rest of your life. Like whether I'm playing like freaking card games or I'm like at the softball
Yes.
field, like it doesn't matter. I'm gonna be competitive and I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
win. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can't wait to like be in like stay in sports my entire life. Like put my kids through sports. Like it's just gonna be
Yeah.
awesome. So yeah, okay. Well, I mean, everyone follow the Savannah Bananas because Sarah is is working for them and probably doing their media. But yeah, thanks you for coming on, Sarah. I
Thank
mean,
you
I
so
haven't seen you in a
much.
long time, but maybe if you're California
Oh yeah. I will
or
give you a ring.
or if you bring the Savannah Bananas to San Jose, like hook me up.
Oh yeah. You let me know. If we're returning to San Jose, you will be there.
Okay. Thank God, because I want to go. I want
Oh,
to
we'll
go.
make it happen.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you, Sarah, so much. Bye.
Bye. Do I hang up or what do I do?
No, I'll stop recording.
Oh, okay.